Hey folks, welcome back to your Salmon River in Pulaski, New York. I'm Randy Jones with over 30 years of experience as a full-time professional fishing guide. In this complimentary video, I hope it'll help you to catch more fish. Folks, whether it's one, a temporary transitional resting spot, which is where the fish stops at temporarily while in a transitional mode while running the river, two, a prime transitional resting area, which is where the fish stops to rest midday, or three, a prime holding location, which is where the fish holds for an extended period of time, days, a month, and for steelhead and brown trout, all fall, winter, and into the spring, they all have one main and critically important thing in common. They're all current breaks. A current break is a structural change of water speed in the river. The number one determining factor in the length of time any fish will hold on these current breaks is the quality of the current break. Because all fish in the Salmon River use these current breaks to conserve energy and rest, then so should you when you're fishing up here. Let's expand on these current breaks a little further. Today's video is on prime holding current breaks that all species of fish use after they've run the river and have found a perfect current break holding location to be used for an extended period of time on the Salmon River. They're pretty much the deeper pools and runs we have on the Salmon River. They're easy to find. Just look for the most anglers and or the angler parking lots that are all around, and usually a short walk to these major pools. The internet and local shops around here also have maps of the larger, more well-known pools on the Salmon River. Typically, these areas are fished once we've had some fish enter and run the river and are starting to hold in these prime locations. These locations should be fished all fall, winter, into the spring, and will normally have the largest concentrations of fish for you to catch. Remember what I said earlier about the quality of a current break determines the length of time a fish will hold on it? These prime holding locations provide the fish with everything it needs to meet and satisfy their survival instincts for an extended period of time. A prime holding location consists of 1. Deep water for safety from predators. 2. A good enough current break to decrease the amount of energy it needs to expend to maintain this position. And finally, 3. Enough food in the case of our steelhead and brown trout. Our prime transitional resting and holding areas and temporary transitional resting spots don't provide the fish with these quality current breaks, and is why they're only used for a short amount of time. One of the simplest fishing strategies would be just to fish these pools for the day, as these fish aren't going anywhere soon. Leave the temporary transitional resting spots, temporary transitional holding spots to someone else. Those areas were covered more thoroughly in previous videos, so check them out. Other prime examples of resting current breaks that the fish will use while transitioning up the river are the head of the hole, the seams on either side of the main flow into the holes. That's where the fast water meets the slow water, or what we call the frog water. Any big boulders or large rocks in the hole, the deepest part of the hole, the tail of the hole, the seam on the inside bend of the river, behind a shallow area that breaks the current, any big rocks or boulders that are in the deepest part of the river that the fish use to navigate it, a little 4 to 6 inch drop in the river's bottom, or also trees that have fallen into the river that are creating a seam. To simplify all this, the fish use all the current breaks in the river, but probably 90% of the river they simply just swim through it and don't stop. These areas should be avoided like the plague. As Lou Tabery once said, there's a lot of empty water out there. The fun part about some of these current breaks is some are not visible to the naked eye and can only be found by spending a lot of time on the water, have an experienced friend show them to you, float over them in some type of watercraft, find them when you bump into them on your drift while you're fishing, walk around the river, or finally, hire a guide. I always enjoy explaining in great detail the current breaks and habitat on the river to all of my guests. In closing, what makes all current breaks so interesting and challenging to understand as an angler is some current breaks are only used by the fish while in a transitional stage while running up or down the river, some for only a few seconds, minutes, to all day. Some current breaks are used for several days, an entire month, up to 5 or 6 months. Some current breaks are only used in the fall before the water temperature drops. Some current breaks are only used during the winter time after the water temperature has dropped. And finally, some current breaks are only used during the fall for salmon, November for brown trout, and spring for steelhead. So some current breaks are only used during certain stages of the fish's life. What's critically important also is some current breaks are only used during certain water flow levels. Low, medium, and high water changes the current breaks that the fish key in on and use. Our water levels are always changing and the fish change along with it, and so should you. Folks, what makes an experienced steelhead or salmon angler on the Salmon River? One of the most critically important things to have is a complete and thorough understanding of all its current breaks and when and how the fish use them. This knowledge will definitely put you into the 10% of the anglers that catch 90% of the fish here on the Salmon River. Folks, I sincerely hope this video helps you to better understand these productive fishing current breaks on the Salmon River and helps you to catch more fish. May all your doorknobs smell of big salmon, steelhead, and brown trout. Thanks for stopping in, folks, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We have a lot more tutorials coming your way. Also, check out my superb Salmon River, New York fishing reports at yankeeangler.com.
Bet you're going fishing all of the time, baby going fishing too. Bet your life, your sweet wife will catch more fish than you.